Hello and welcome to It's a Vet's Life. Today we've come to the World of Wings at Hornsey, where they have a marvellous collection of birds of prey. A bit like this one. Wow. What a fantastic bird. Tremendous.
100 years ago, this was a Japanese fish supper. Now it's a prized pet, which can be worth thousands of pounds.
Here at the World of Wings, there could be no more impressive inmate than this eagle here. It's a bald-headed eagle from America, and the man responsible for all these wonderful birds is Ken Smith. He's birdman #1 here. Ken, how did you get into this business?
Oh, it started in my early teens when my father actually brought me an injured kestrel that I repaired, patched it up, and released it back into the wild, which in effect should have been the end of it, but it just went on from there until you see what you see today.
Now, this bird's beautifully tame. I mean, it's more like a friend than an
yeah,
inmate.
well, we spend many hours with her. It's all accounts for the time you spend with a bird. The longer you spend with it, the more it gets to know you. The more it gets to know you, the more friendly it becomes.
OK, come on, let me see some of your other birds, eh?
Right.
Is it OK to leave it there?
Yep, fine.
Fine. Tame as that, eh? Hey, now, Ken, that's not an eagle, even I can tell that. That's a vulture. What are vultures doing here?
That's the lappet-faced vulture. Very important as a species that we breed these particular ones. These are the biggest of the African species, the ones that are responsible for opening up the carcass of a dead animal, which, of course, then allows the other birds to enter and feed. So if these were ever to go extinct, then many other species would follow.
So how come that you and Hornsey here get hold of something as exotic as a vulture? Where did it come from?
Well, we've to search the zoos worldwide, and particularly in Europe, and get pairs together wherever we possibly can.
What do you find fascinating about these birds of prey particularly?
It's just birds of prey in themselves. They've got a certain magic about them that no other type of bird has got somehow.
I know that's another eagle, but what kind is that?
That's an immature bald eagle, the future mate for Sequoia, the one we've just been looking at.
So is that a young female?
That's a young male.
A young male?
Yes.
Have you tested it? Because you can't often tell, can you, males from females in birds?
Often not, but with birds of prey particularly, there's a vast size difference, and in fact the females are larger than the males.
What kind of eagles are they up there?
They're steppe eagles from the steppes of Russia. They were actually bred in captivity, the first 2 steppe eagles ever to be produced in a domestic environment. Yeah. So they should breed, and in fact you'll see the female is doing quite a bit of nest building, so hopefully over the next month we should have eggs.
Well, I'm impressed with your eagles, but I hear you've also got some nice owls here. Can we go and have a look at them?
Certainly.
Great stuff. Well, here's a beautiful specimen of an owl to start with. I know it's an eagle owl. It's in charge of Sean Smith, who's son of Birdman. I think he's going to take over this bird collection pretty soon. Now, Ken, what kind of owl is this and where does it come from?
That's a European eagle owl. Used to spread throughout Europe, but now confined mainly to Norway and Sweden, where in 1970 they were on the brink of extinction.
Right.
It's captive breeding brought them back into existence, actually.
Great. Now, I see you've got a couple back here and one in the nest box, so breeding goes on, eh?
Yes, they're the Turkmenians, very similar to the European, but slightly different.
Turkmenian? Where's Turkmenia?
Oh, that's just a tiny little country in the Afghanistan, Azerbaijan region of what used to be the Russian republics.
Oh, I was never good at geography. I think it might be this way. Can we walk down here and see something else?
Okay.
See. The one thing I always think is these are wild animals. I mean, would you not be happier if they were flying in the skies as they were intended?
Not particularly. I tend to put them in the same category as you might with a domestic cat. They're about as wild as a cat would be. So yes, they can and do and are capable of doing their own thing in a wild state. But they appreciate, like we do, the creature comforts. These are all the British species.
British species, yeah. And what's this one in the first pen?
That's the long-eared owl.
I can see why you call it that.
I like this particular pair.
Yeah.
It's 2 of our babies, by the way, that we bred 2 years ago. But I like the way it stands, pretending to be a stick. It just shows up the camouflage aspects of the owl.
Fantastic camouflage, eh?
Brilliant at hiding.
Right. Oh, these are magnificent. Are these short-eared ones?
These are the short-eared owl. No particular purchase for these because they are a ground bird.
Aye.
Ground-dwelling bird.
But are you breeding with these lot as well?
No, unfortunately. These are all injured, wild-disabled birds, and they've never been bred in a captive environment.
So, listen, do you get a lot of problem cases brought into you from the public and things like that?
Over 100 a year.
All right. Well, you know, being a vet, that's just the kind of area I'm interested in. So, in a few minutes, we'll see a bit about that, but first, a few more tips from John Rogers.
When you own a dog, one of the most frustrating things that can happen to you is when you go out for a walk to have the dog just simply pull your arm out all the way along the road. How can we stop dogs pulling on the lead and teach them to walk correctly? Well, the old system of training used to use these choke chains, the idea being that when the dog got ahead, you shouted a nice loud command of heel, and then you gave the dog an almighty check on that chain to teach the dog to walk next to you. Sadly, the only effect that normally has, it teaches the dog, when he says heel, I have to brace myself because he's going to try to pull my head off. And it doesn't work, unfortunately. A better way of doing it, remember, is to reward the behaviour that we want. So the trick is just to take a few paces forward. If the dog gets ahead and starts to pull, if you stand still, make the dog come back and reward the behaviour that we want. Good dog. We walk forward again. We can use food. If the dog gets ahead, we stand still, make the dog come back to us, reward it with food. Let's just go again. Remember, any pulling at all, I'm simply going to stand still, make the dog stay next to me, and we reward the behaviour that we want. Let's just try that with some of the dogs that we have here. We'll start with the puppy. It's a little bit more difficult with puppies. What you'll need to do, get the dog round onto the left-hand side. That's round onto the other side of your leg. The puppy knows where it wants to be. OK, show it the treat. OK, now if you just very gently walk forward, you can tap your leg, you can encourage the dog as much as you can. Try not to put pressure on the lead. The more pressure you put on the lead, the more you'll build the dog's muscles up in trying to avoid and pull in the opposite direction. That's it. That's brilliant. The more encouragement, the better. That's great. OK, that's fine. That's terrific. Don't worry too much about the jumping up. Literally, all you need to remember is if he only ever receives... Can I just borrow him for a second? All you need to remember is you only give him the treat when all 4 feet are on the floor. So if he jumps up, he's not going to get it. In fact, I'm going to hide it. There, it's not there anymore. He doesn't get it for jumping up. When all 4 feet are on the floor, then he's going to get the treat. Good boy. Good lad. Right, just stand still for a second there. This dog's actually wearing a check chain. There's nothing wrong in taking the dog out on the check chain. But what you have to remember, first of all, is the action of the chain. This chain's actually on the wrong way, which means when I tighten it, it won't slacken correctly. The correct way of putting it on is that way, so that when we start to pull on it, it will slacken off really quickly. That's the first thing. Secondly, what we're trying to teach the dog is that when it hears the links start to click, that you're about to tighten it. So the important thing here is not to walk along doing that all the time. That only desensitizes the dog to the effect of the chain. Can I just borrow some treats? Right, remember, we rely on the treats. This is simply to stop the dog wandering off. We rely on the treats all the time. If we need to use... That's a good dog. Come on in. If we need... And you notice I'm trying to keep the chain right the way down. Good dog. That's a good... If we need to use it, it's just used like that until the dog does as we want, and then it's rewarded for the behaviour that we want. So this should result in all the dogs going out, and within several sessions, they should walk much better on the lead and not pull your arm out all the way along the high street.
OK, Sean, have you got a grip of this quite securely?
Yes, I'm fine.
Because I'll tell you, this makes holding a budgie in the surgery just a little bit wimpish.
It does a bit.
There's no great danger for me here, is there?
No, no.
Because look at that magnificent beak. You can see why it's used to shred meat up, and really tear it to pieces. But the real problem's down here. If you take a look, this foot is the way it's supposed to be, and very difficult to unclamp these. That's the way it would grab onto a branch or grab onto prey. But this foot is unable to do that. You see, I can move it. I'd never be able to do that normally. Neither would I, because these claws might grab me. It's had some tendon damage underneath, or maybe up the back of its leg. And so this is a pretty disabled eagle, really, Ken, eh?
Absolutely, yeah.
So you just... It's lucky it's at Hornsey getting looked after. Mm. Now, I believe you've got another eagle, which is even more disabled.
Yes,
just behind you there. I think the biggest problem is how you're going to get it out for us.
We'll see.
Go on, then.
Come on, baby.
You're a braver man than I. That was brilliantly done, you know. Can you keep that big beak away from me?
I sure can, yes.
Now, this is the leg here that's all the trouble.
That's the damaged one, yes,
Just
the right
let me
leg.
have a wee feel. That's lovely. So straight away, that ankle is very badly deformed. Yeah. It's thickened. The whole foot's pointing the wrong way. It's bowed round. Just let me have a wee feel up here. Very much like a dog or a cat's foot, you know. That's the knee joint up there. Now, this presumably is a tibia, and that's bowed right in the middle. Really a bad bend on it. I think that's going to have to be really x-rayed by a bird expert, but if it's going to be fixed, the bone would have to be sectioned here and then pinned down the middle, but you'd still be left with this rather deformed ankle. It would improve the bird, but I think we'll get a second opinion on that from a bird expert.
Right.
Meanwhile, you don't need any second opinions. I think you're a top birdman. Brilliantly done that catch. Do you want to pop it back in before it gets too excited?
Okay. Thanks.
There we go, lady. There we are, lady. Now, if you see a bit of blood about, don't worry for the bird's sake, because the blood belongs to Ken. He was struggling to get it. And as you can see, he's put a wee ring in here so that the claws will be kept apart to show us a real problem. The hood, by the way, just helps keep the bird a wee bit quieter. You see this puffy bit right in the middle here? Well, that's a condition called bumblefoot, and it's particularly bad in falcons, isn't it, Ken?
It is, yes.
Sometimes there's a scab and you can pick it off and get the pus out, but here it's going to have to be lanced, and then a wee bandage around the foot, and you have to do it quite quickly, because that's rather a big collection of purulent material there. OK, Ken, that's great. Do you want to pop that one back in the box first? Just in here, that's the stuff. You get it in and I'll do this. OK. Right, now I believe you've got a pretty severely ill...
That's the long ear down.
Yeah. That's it.
There we go.
Boy, that's horrendous.
Oh.
That is horrendous. Just you watch the wee... What a shame.
Oh,
How do you
it's an
think that'll have
amputation,
happened,
Joe.
Ken?
That's self-inflicted.
Aye, all this biting bit.
With, yeah.
Originally, what'll have happened?
With a break. Probably caused by a car aerial, I think.
A road traffic accident.
Road traffic accident,
They missed the car and hit the aerial.
That's right.
And then she pecks away at it.
Yeah, it snaps the muscle there, the wing starts to droop, and she pecks away at it.
Well, that's really terrible, you know. I know this is not going to do the leg much good, but it'll help the owl a wee bit. Let's get a wee bit of this powder on here. It's just antiseptic powder. Stop a few of the bugs from invading the owl. Definitely an amputation job, though. Right, now could you just hold gently like that? Can you turn the breast towards me, the pectoral muscles? Steady, 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 little one. Just hold it steady like that. That's great. That's lovely. Just let me feel for it. That's it. This is just some antibiotic now. At least we'll help the wee bird. But we're going to have to get that to the specialist vet, bird vet, and get that amputated. Maybe have a look at it later on in this series. Is dealing with difficult patients who don't really want me to treat them. I suppose doctors get the same problem, but there's one major difference. Their patients can't bite them. Luckily today, I've got a behavioural expert, John Rogerson, along, and he's going to give me a few tips about how to deal with the few of my more dangerous patients. Before we go on to dogs, because I know you're really a dog expert, which is why I thought I'd give you as your first case a couple of rabbits. Now, I've never seen them before, but they're called lemon drop and sweet stuff, which is a very bad misnomer, because the lady just rang me and she said that she approaches them, they growl, she went up and one of them bit her, and she's worried in case her children get bitten, because these are family pets.
Okay.
What advice would you give her?
Okay, well, let's just have a quick look. When we try to handle animals, it's important that we establish a bond between ourselves and the animal that we're touching. So I'm going to use a little tickling stick, and you can see straight away, as soon as I just start to move the stick around near the animal's ears, it's another important point. You see, most animals, when they're a bit worried about something, will start to lay their ears back. So you see how rapidly it's now starting to breathe? Okay, that's because it's under stress. As soon as the breathing starts to relax a little bit, and we'd follow that by something pleasant, so it'd be a carrot or a special treat. Right. And once the rabbit then has started to accept that being touched is followed by something pleasant, we can dispense with the stick, and we can then just start to gently with our fingers. Okay, but it's why it's so important that we start with a stick, because that sort of behaviour will instinctively make the owner draw their hand away.
How long is that going to take an owner to establish? We're talking days or weeks? Or?
We're talking weeks. The longer the problem, the longer it takes to put the problem right.
Let's just have a quick look. You can tell we have got this kind of tied up in ropes here. John, I don't want you to take offence, but this is a cat in here.
Why is there only one pair of gloves?
There isn't. There you go, son. Next. Listen, this cat's called Plato. It should have been called Genghis Khan. Right. The lady holds it. She tells me it's as good as gold at home, but not here. So just, have you got your gloves on?
Yeah, I've got the gloves on.
It looks reasonable, but this is not a friendly cat.
The problem with what you do is the outcome of being touched, in a lot of cases, unfortunately, is going to be something a little bit disagreeable for the animal. Yeah. So it's important, particularly when they're youngsters, when they come into the surgery, that when they're handled, something pleasant happens either during the handling or afterwards. It would be, for instance, the owner would be told don't feed the cat before you bring it to surgery. Withhold a meal and bring that meal into surgery so that after you've touched and handled the cat, something at least pleasant is going to follow.
OK then, darling, we'll let you get closed up and off back home. OK, you can take your gloves off now, John, because as I promised you, dog expert, we've at last got you a dog. Mr. McGlinchey, do you want to bring your wee killer dog in? A wee killer dog. It's called Tommy, isn't it?
Tommy, yes.
And how old is Tommy now?
5.
5. And you brought her about 3 days ago for me to cut her nails.
That's right.
And I couldn't do it.
No.
John, I'll go up to her, touch her feet, and she won't.
You can see straight away the way she's
You
going.
see? She's going to go for you. And I'm rewarding. See that? Look, you've got to be really quick. So,
Okay.
John, first present is a pair of nail
pair of nail
clippers. Tell me what to do with it.
Okay. The problem is that the dog obviously really dislikes her nails being touched. Worse still, being cut with a pair of nail clippers. So the technique that we're going to use is this. Every night before you feed her, what I want you to do is just to pop a lead onto her collar and fasten the lead up so that she can't move around and jump around. And all you do is just touch, very gently, you touch her foot and give her a little portion of her food. That's all you need to do. Then touch her foot again, give her a portion of food. After several days, she'll actually expect that in order to get her food, that you'll want to touch her paw. In fact, you may even find she starts to give you a paw to touch. What you then need to borrow or to acquire is a pair of these nail clippers, because what you're then going to do is every night before you feed her, you're going to touch her foot, and the outcome of that is going to be something pleasant. See, at the moment, the outcome of having her foot touched is something unpleasant. And the other important thing is, when she comes into surgery, can I just stroke her for a second? That's it. When she comes into surgery, it's quite often easier if you're holding on to the dog and get it up off the toe, because, you see, she probably won't have had any experience of being able to escape when she's lifted up. Do we have the nail clippers?
Yeah,
There we are.
Yeah, that.
Okay.
Right. You doing it, am I?
No. In this position, literally, every single night, if you do that and then give her something to eat, and do that again and give her something to eat, then you do it with the front, touch, and something to eat, touch, and something to eat. You can see she's actually pulling her paw away at the moment because she's expecting something unpleasant's going to happen. We're going to change that so that nail clippers coming towards her nails means something really pleasant's going to happen.
That's the basic principle.
That's the basic
Link
principle.
the bad with the good. And
That's
make
right.
it worth the while.
Make the outcome pleasant, and she'll accept it.
Could you give me away for this?
The garden of this Leeds house is home to a 60-plus collection of koi carp. Keeping koi is a costly exercise. The Whiteley family have built a 12,000-gallon heated pool for their fish. Some koi are worth thousands, and koi keeping is often linked with the rich. But this isn't just a millionaire's hobby. Your average koi can be bought for a few pounds. So, David, can you tell me a bit about your magnificent collection of koi here?
Well, they're all quite different. There are lots of different varieties in this particular pond. But the most popular varieties over here in England is the red and white ones, which is the Kuakos, the red, white and black ones, which are Sankis, and the blackfish, which is very similar, that has red and white patterns on it, and that's a Shoa. The other one that's quite popular is a blackfish that has white markings, and that's the Nutsuri.
So what makes a good koi? What are people looking for when they buy one?
Well, it's basically, first thing you would look for is skin quality, and then pattern, the colour pattern, how the different colours go sharply into the other colours. And generally, they look a nice koi and they look balanced and pretty, really.
What do you like about them?
Well, it's growing them on from small fish. That's what I really like about it, and it's so relaxing as an hobby.
Most important thing about koi keeping is actually keeping the water and keeping the water quality of the water up to an environment that the fish are happy in. And we do it by filtering the water. Basically, it just separates the solids, and then the clean water then goes through the biological side of the filter system, and the bacteria works on the ammonia and breaks it down into nitrate, and then it breaks down again into nitrates and then bubbles off as gases, which leaves the water then clean.
However good the water is, sometimes fish need medical attention. The liquid being poured into this pool is a drug to anaesthetise a koi before an operation. When the fish becomes drowsy, It's carefully taken out of the water and carried to the operating room. Fish surgery is a specialist field, and this consultancy near Boston in Lincolnshire is where many of Britain's poorly koi carp come for treatment.
Right.
So what are you going to do with this one here?
If I turn it round, I'm sure you'll be able to see better. There is this area of infection over the eye. It doesn't look particularly serious. I think the best thing that I can do is to treat this with some cryosurgery. This is liquid nitrogen, which will freeze that whole area down to a very low temperature, and this will reduce any bacterial activity that there is in that wound that's stopping it from healing. And now we just leave that for a few minutes to thaw. It is possible to keep them out of the water for some considerable time, but we like to work as fast as possible. We don't really have a fish out of the water more than 10 minutes on an average treatment.
It must be a bit nerve-wracking when you've got a fish on the operating table that's worth thousands of pounds.
We recently had a fish valued around £65,000, and I was very pleased when that came round from the anaesthetic, yes. The largest cause of problems to koi carp is initially stress, which is a big killer of fish. Then, of course, we have bad water quality, because the water that koi need to live in has to be very good. You have to have very good filtration for koi carp, because they are kicking out an awful lot of waste products. And parasite problems. I think the new koi keeper tends to underestimate that fish do harbour all sorts of problems, and parasites in particular can cause a lot of fish deaths. And I think koi keepers really ought to make sure that they do get some good advice on how to tackle these problems before they arise, rather than have a very nice koi collection that they're not able to cope with.
Well, that's it for this week. Next week, we're down on a stud farm in Malton, and we're going to meet a specialist vet called Bob Ordage.
And I'll be at a Shetland-style croft just off the M62. It's home to the only complete collection of Shetland livestock in the world.